So, you want to hear about Greek mythology? Good choice. These aren't just any old bedtime stories. We're talking about a world brimming with powerful gods who throw lightning bolts when they're grumpy, and heroes who fight monsters that would give you nightmares for a week. Imagine a time, thousands of years ago in ancient Greece, when people looked up at a thunderstorm and didn't just see rain. They saw the king of the gods, Zeus, having a really bad day. These stories were their way of explaining everything, from why the seasons change to why you shouldn't brag too much. They're epic, they're messy, and honestly, they're a ton of fun. Think of it like the ultimate cosmic soap opera. You have family drama, jealousy, epic battles, and creatures that are part animal, part nightmare fuel. The ancient Greeks created these tales to make sense of a world that was often scary and unpredictable. A sudden earthquake wasn't just tectonic plates shifting, it was the sea god Poseidon slamming his trident on the ocean floor because someone probably forgot his birthday. These myths were their science, their religion, and their entertainment all rolled into one. They were passed down from generation to generation, told around campfires and in grand halls, each storyteller adding their own little twist to the tale. The world of Greek myths is vast and interconnected, like a giant, chaotic family tree. At the top, you have the gods on Mount Olympus, who are basically a superpowered, immortal family with a lot of issues. Then you have the demigods, the children of a god and a mortal. These are your heroes, the ones who get sent on impossible quests and have to clean up the messes the gods often make. Below them, you have a whole host of strange and wonderful creatures. Centaurs who are half man, half horse. Satyrs who love to party. And monsters like the Hydra, which grows 2 new heads for everyone you chop off. It's a world full of danger and wonder. What makes these stories so special is that they are incredibly human, even when they're about gods. The gods and goddesses weren't perfect, far from it. They were proud, they made mistakes, they fell in love, and they held grudges for centuries. They acted a lot like people, just with the power to turn their enemies into spiders or cause a tidal wave. This is what makes them so relatable. The Greeks weren't just telling stories about distant, flawless beings. They were exploring the very best and the very worst parts of human nature itself, just on a much grander, world-shaking scale. It's a wild ride, so buckle up. Let's meet the head honchos, the big 12 who lived on Mount Olympus. First up is Zeus, the king of the gods and the lord of the sky. He's the one with the master lightning bolt, and he's not afraid to use it. He's powerful, but he also has a serious problem with staying faithful to his wife. Speaking of his wife, that's Hera, the queen of the gods and the goddess of marriage. She's majestic and powerful, but she spends most of her time being furiously jealous of Zeus's many girlfriends and their children. Their family dinners must have been incredibly awkward. They ruled over everyone, but their own house was a complete mess of drama and revenge. Next in the lineup are Zeus's 2 brothers, who got the other big parts of the world. You have Poseidon, the god of the sea, earthquakes, and horses. He's a moody guy who carries a giant 3-pronged spear called a trident. When he's in a good mood, the seas are calm. When he's angry, you get hurricanes and tsunamis. Then there's Hades, who got the short end of the stick and became the lord of the underworld. He's not evil, just a bit gloomy, which is understandable when your kingdom is full of dead people. He ruled his dark realm with his queen Persephone, who he famously kidnapped, kicking off a whole other story about why we have winter. Of course, the family doesn't stop there. Zeus had a lot of kids who also became major gods. There's Athena, the goddess of wisdom and battle strategy, who sprang fully grown from Zeus's head. Yes, you read that right. She was his favorite, a brilliant warrior who was way smarter than most of the other gods combined. Then you have Apollo, the god of music, poetry, archery, and the sun. He was the cool, talented one, driving his sun chariot across the sky every day. His twin sister Artemis was the goddess of the hunt and the moon, a fierce protector of young girls and wild animals who preferred the forest to the drama on Olympus. And the list goes on. There was Ares, the god of war, who loved nothing more than a good fight and was generally disliked by everyone else for his violent temper. Aphrodite was the goddess of love and beauty, who was so stunningly beautiful that she caused constant trouble among gods and mortals alike. Hephaestus was the god of fire and blacksmithing, a master craftsman who was married to Aphrodite but was lame and considered ugly. Hermes was the speedy messenger of the gods, with his winged sandals and a mischievous streak. This family was big, complicated, and always interesting. They were the original superheroes long before comics were ever invented. When monsters are on the loose or a king needs an impossible task done, you don't call the gods. You call a hero. And the biggest hero of them all was Hercules, or Heracles if you want to get technical with the Greek name. This guy was the son of Zeus, which meant he was super strong, but also meant Hera, Zeus's wife, hated his guts. To prove his worth, he was given 12 impossible tasks, known as the labors of Hercules. He had to fight a lion with impenetrable skin, battle a 9-headed hydra, and even travel to the underworld and bring back its 3-headed guard dog, Cerberus. He was the ultimate problem solver, using both his incredible strength and his wits to succeed. Another hero who had a seriously tough time was Perseus. His story starts with a prophecy that he would one day kill his grandfather, the king. So the king locked Perseus's mum in a bronze tower. That didn't stop Zeus, of course. Perseus was born anyway and was cast out to sea in a wooden chest. He survived, and as a young man he was sent on a suicide mission to kill the Gorgon Medusa, a monster with snakes for hair whose gaze could turn anyone to stone. With a little help from the gods, a reflective shield from Athena, and winged sandals from Hermes, he managed to chop off her head without looking at her. He used her head as a weapon on his way home, turning his enemies to stone. Then there's the story of Theseus and the Minotaur, which is straight out of a horror movie. Every year, the city of Athens had to send 7 young men and 7 young women to the island of Crete. There, they were sacrificed to the Minotaur, a terrifying creature that was half man, half bull, and lived in a giant maze called the Labyrinth. The hero Theseus volunteered to go as one of the sacrifices, vowing to kill the beast. The king's daughter Ariadne fell in love with him and gave him a ball of thread so he could find his way out of the maze after the fight. Theseus faced the Minotaur in the dark and against all odds defeated the monster and saved his city. These heroes weren't perfect. They were often proud, made big mistakes and had tragic endings, but they were celebrated for their courage and determination. They showed the ancient Greeks that even when faced with terrifying monsters and impossible odds set by the gods, mortals could fight back. They could be strong, clever, and brave. Their stories were a source of inspiration, teaching people that even in a world controlled by powerful, unpredictable forces, human will and heroism mattered. They were the rock stars of their time, and their epic adventures are still thrilling to read about today. So why are we still talking about these ancient stories today, thousands of years later? It's because they are more than just tales about gods and monsters. The ancient Greeks used these myths to explain the world around them. A violent storm was Zeus's anger. The changing of the seasons was explained by the story of Persephone being forced to spend part of the year in the underworld, causing her mother Demeter, the goddess of the harvest, to grieve and let the world go cold. The echo you hear in the mountains? That was a nymph named Echo, cursed by Hera to only repeat the last words spoken to her. These myths gave a reason for everything, but they also explored deep questions about life. The myths deal with themes that are still incredibly relevant to us today: love, jealousy, courage, betrayal, and the struggle between fate and free will. Think about the story of Icarus, whose father made him wings of wax and feathers. He was warned not to fly too close to the sun, but he got carried away by the thrill of flying, his wings melted, and he plunged into the sea. It's a powerful story about the danger of ambition and not listening to your elders. These tales were like guidebooks for how to live, full of lessons about human nature and the consequences of our actions. This is why Greek myths have never really gone away. They have inspired countless books, movies, paintings, and even video games. When you see a character in a movie go on a hero's journey, facing trials and returning home changed, you're seeing a pattern that was born in the myths of heroes like Hercules and Odysseus. The names of planets in our solar system, like Mars, Ares, and Jupiter, Zeus, come from their Roman counterparts. These stories are embedded in our culture in ways we don't always notice. They are the foundation for so much of Western storytelling, providing a rich well of characters and plots to draw from. So the next time you hear a rumble of thunder or see a spider spinning a web, maybe you'll think of Zeus or the weaver Arachne, who was turned into a spider by Athena. These myths are a gateway to an ancient world, but they also hold a mirror up to our own. They show us that people have always struggled with the same big feelings and problems. The gods and heroes of ancient Greece may be old, but their stories are timeless. I invite you to dive in and explore more of them. Who knows? You might just find your new favorite hero, or a story that feels like it was written just for you. The world of myths is waiting.